while India had 142 and Canada had 131. These are the three top countries that the J1 visa are issued to. However, at that time, our maximum number of people that eventually were able to come, this is a delay starting from 14 days to 1 year, where at the end of the program, we had only 79% of our physicians come up here.
I'll tell you a little bit about some of the work I've done with APNA through my law firm and some of the results. We were, the firm was retained really about 2 years ago, I think, on the first case of a J1, what we felt was a discrimination issue. It was in Kentucky, and in that situation, the real concern was exactly what you saw on the screen, which was that that resident had come in about 5 weeks late into the program. Came in late, not through any fault of his own, but only because that he was not granted that visa because of a security check issue. He came in 5 weeks late, which of course, as you all know, means he missed orientation. He missed the first two-week rotations, and he comes into not just a new hospital, but a new country that he has never been to before. He has to acclimate. He has to make sure that his language skills are not just up to par to communicate, to go buy groceries, but communicate in that medical environment. And he has to move at the same speed and be seen as somebody who's as competent as his other PGY1s. That's asking a lot if you come in 5 weeks late. And for anyone who's done a residency here and you've come from another country, you know that there are completely different procedures in the hospitals here than the hospitals in Pakistan. And that's one of the reasons folks come here and do the residencies. You know, it's a different system. It's a system that's going to ask more of you and therefore teach you better.
So we'll be discussing the name check delays that are affecting both visa applications as well as naturalization applications. We'll discuss border interrogations and invasive searches at the border. And then finally, we'll discuss foreign policy issues as they pertain to Pakistan. So first, I just want to say that Muslim Advocates very deeply values the relationship that we have with APNA. We're very excited to have your support and to be here today to help lend some talking points with you. Together, given our respective capacities, we can do a great deal to push for very positive change on the issues that affect our community. The sorts of work that APNA members do in your respective communities and in your outreach to your individual representatives and state legislatures and Congress is deeply influential, and the work that we do in the policy sphere can help empower that. We're very happy to be here. And I just want to note that each of you has an enormous opportunity to play a leadership role within our community by virtue of your education, by virtue of your access, by virtue of the steps that you've taken proactively to put yourself on the radar screen of your respective representatives.
So for this whole weekend, the 4 days, you need to understand that the people, what you're doing today is probably the most important thing that anybody in the entire Washington, D.C. area is going to do. What you're doing is you're standing up for your rights. What you're doing is you're actually making sure that everybody understands that you will not be taken for granted. You have equal rights, and most importantly, you're talking about most important issues that affect us and our future generation. So congratulations for realizing this important thing.
Judiciary is always the pillar of democracy and a strong parliamentary system. We cannot strengthen the parliament at all or democracy in the country if they don't revive the judiciary, and that's what the people of Pakistan believe.
I'm not going to go through the history of the relationship. We all know about it, but I do want to point out that I have personal involvement in the history of the relationship, or personal experience rather. It's not just book Googling and reading the internet that I know about this relationship. When I arrived to post in Pakistan, I was posted as a diplomat there from 1994 to 96. The day I arrived, I think the last U.S. aid official was leaving the U.S. aid mission. Of course, the Pressler Amendment meant that the sanctions started in 1990, but the U.S. aid mission was so massive and so large, it took literally 4 years to begin to draw it down. And I didn't hear from that day until the day I left, I don't think a day passed where I didn't hear from my Pakistani friends and colleagues, how could the U.S. have let Pakistan down? How could you have turned your backs? And I think it's widely recognized in the U.S. what a grave error it was to turn away from South Asia, both Pakistan and Afghanistan, at that critical time period. So this is something that is very much understood in U.S. policy circles.
It's a pleasure sharing the platform with Chaudhry Iqbal Hassan, a friend, a colleague, a brother, and a fellow believer in the democratic future of Pakistan. Many of us here are joined by a faith in our country of origin, Pakistan, and a faith in that country's democratic future. If Pakistan has a future, it is under democracy. If Pakistan has a future, it's under the constitution of the country. If Pakistan has a future, it's a future under the rule of law. Many of us may have disagreements about how that goal will be achieved. All great movements have people who disagree. But here is what I would say to all of you. Something that I have been saying to Pakistani audiences for the last few days since I have taken over as ambassador. I am the ambassador of every Pakistani, whether he supports or opposes a political party, whether he belongs to one religious faith or another, including those faiths that have so far been excluded by us and by our state for many, many years.
Right now, I think we all know about the relationship of Pakistan and the United States. Historically, several milestones are noted. Prime Minister Liaquat Ali Khan's cancellation of his visit in the early 1950s to the Soviet Union and instead turning to the United States. The early pacts of CETO and CENTO, which was the Baghdad Pact, which bound Pakistan militarily to the United States. The India factor coming in during the 1965 war and the 1971 war, when there was great disappointment with American non-intervention on behalf of Pakistan in East Pakistan, when we kept hearing for about 2 weeks that the 7th U.S. fleet was moving into the Bay of Bengal and would suddenly start bombing American troops, Indian troops on behalf of and in support of the beleaguered Pakistan army. All that culminated, I think, more recently in how Pakistan's third military dictator was converted from a pariah to one of the most important people in the foreign policy and in the international policy of Ronald Reagan's administration. General Musharraf had imposed martial law on the 5th of July 1977, as you will recall, at